Explore English. Discover more. Welcome to a place where curiosity drives learning and language unlocks endless possibilities. From grammar to great ideas, from words to worldviews. We're here to explore it all with you. Let's begin the journey together. Why is it nearly impossible to defeat the United States in war? The United States has emerged from every major global conflict in the modern era. World War I, World War II, the Cold War, and various regional wars, as either the victor or a resilient superpower. While the notion of any nation being truly undefeatable is theoretically flawed due to the unpredictability of warfare, history, technology, and strategy combined to make the U.S. extraordinarily difficult to defeat militarily. This investigative analysis explores the multifaceted reasons why America is widely considered militarily unassailable. Geographic invulnerability. Two-ocean barrier. The U.S. is flanked by the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, creating natural defense buffers against conventional invasion. Historically, no foreign military has successfully launched a full-scale invasion of the continental U.S. since 1812. Friendly neighbors, with Canada to the north and Mexico to the south, both stable and cooperative countries. America has no hostile borders, unlike many other nations. Military dominance and global reach. Defense budget. The U.S. military budget surpasses $800 billion annually, more than the next 10 countries combined. This includes investment in advanced research, cyber warfare, space defense, and force readiness. Global bases. The U.S. maintains over 750 military bases across 80-plus countries, offering rapid deployment capability and strategic depth in nearly every continent. Nuclear arsenal. With over 5,000 nuclear warheads, the U.S. has second strike capability, guaranteeing mutual assured destruction, MAD, in the event of a nuclear war. This deterrent alone dissuades any major power from attempting a full-scale attack. Technological superiority. From F-35 stealth fighters and B-2 bombers to aircraft carriers and hypersonic missile systems, the U.S. military incorporates cutting-edge technology in every branch, making it highly lethal and difficult to match in conventional warfare. Industrial and economic power. Wartime production capability. The U.S. has the industrial backbone to sustain long-term warfare. During World War II, American factories were dubbed the arsenal of democracy, producing more planes, tanks, and ships than all Axis powers combined. Economic resilience. A $27 trillion economy supports endless wartime spending, logistical operations, and military innovation. Economic sanctions against the U.S. have historically failed due to its self-sufficiency and global trade network. Energy independence. America is a top producer of oil and natural gas, reducing vulnerability to energy-related warfare or embargoes. Cyber and intelligence supremacy. Cyber warfare capabilities. The U.S. Cyber Command can disrupt or destroy critical infrastructure of adversaries. It has been accused, and at times confirmed, of conducting sophisticated cyber operations in Iran, Russia, and North Korea. Global intelligence network. With agencies like the CIA, NSA, and partnerships in the Five Eyes Alliance, the U.S. maintains the world's most expensive surveillance and intelligence network, making covert threats easier to detect and counter. Alliances and strategic partnerships. NATO leadership. As the cornerstone of NATO, America benefits from collective defense agreements with 30-plus nations. An attack on the U.S. would trigger a response from the alliance under Article 5. Asian partnerships. Security pacts with Japan, South Korea, Australia, and the Philippines bolster American military presence in the Indo-Pacific, effectively containing China and North Korea. Middle East influence. America's military and economic influence in the Middle East ensures access to strategic bases, intelligence cooperation, and rapid deployment in volatile regions. civil-military integration and innovation, private sector collaboration, Silicon Valley, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon, and other tech giants collaborate with the Pentagon to ensure innovation in AI, robotics, quantum computing, and cyber warfare, future-defining technologies. Space command and surveillance. The establishment of U.S. Space Force and global satellite surveillance systems provide unmatched dominance in communications, GPS precision, and early missile detection. Psychological and cultural warfare. Global soft power. Through Hollywood, media, technology platforms, and cultural influence, the U.S. controls narratives and perceptions worldwide, shaping ideologies and political currents even in rival countries. Moral high ground in global conflicts. Whether justified or not, the U.S. often positions itself as a defender of democracy and freedom. This framing helps in winning international support, or at least neutralizing public opinion during conflicts. Asymmetric warfare resilience. Battlefield experience. From Vietnam to Iraq and Afghanistan, the U.S. military has gained extensive experience in counterinsurgency and asymmetric warfare, developing elite units like Navy SEALs, Delta Force, and drone strike capabilities. Rapid adaptability. Failures and setbacks often result in doctrinal changes and technology upgrades rather than systemic collapse. America's ability to learn from mistakes has helped it retain military leadership despite drawn-out conflicts. Public-private wartime unity. Crisis mobilization. In times of existential threats, bipartisan support for defense becomes overwhelming, as seen after Pearl Harbor and 9/11. This national unity fuels public support for long-term conflict engagement and military expenditure. Reservist and National Guard readiness. Beyond active duty personnel, the U.S. has millions of trained reservists and civilian contractors who can be activated, swelling the ranks in prolonged warfare scenarios. Nuclear triad and doomsday contingency. Land, air, sea capabilities. America's nuclear triad, ICBMs land, SLBMs sea, and strategic bombers air, ensure survivability even after a first strike, creating a doomsday scenario that deters any rational actor from engaging in total war. Command and control continuity. Deep underground bunkers and advanced communication systems allow the president and military leaders to maintain control and launch retaliatory strikes, even under extreme duress. Cultural unity in times of threat. While the U.S. often experiences intense domestic political division, history shows that these fractures temporarily close during major national threats. After September 11th, approval of the president soared across party lines. In World War II, American society mobilized on an unprecedented scale, rationing, mass volunteering, and industrial realignment to support the war effort. This shows that in existential threats, American identity is capable of realignment and consolidation, making it harder for an external enemy to exploit internal discord during wartime. Civilian infrastructure preparedness. Though not often emphasized, the United States possesses a highly structured emergency infrastructure. FEMA and Homeland Security maintain large-scale response protocols for nuclear, chemical, and biological attacks. State National Guards and Civil Air Patrol units are embedded into all 50 states, allowing swift domestic response without relying solely on federal forces. The U.S. also has the Strategic National Stockpile, a resource of medical supplies, radiation countermeasures, and pharmaceuticals, further enhancing resilience in case of WMD use. In a modern war, where infrastructure and civilians become strategic targets, this civilian-military hybrid readiness makes the U.S. unusually difficult to cripple. Information warfare dominance. The U.S. wields global narrative control through its media giants, CNN, Fox, NYT, tech platforms Google, YouTube, Twitter/X, and entertainment industry, Hollywood, Netflix, gaming. In any geopolitical crisis, America typically shapes the international narrative to its advantage. This war of perception is increasingly vital in 21st century conflict, where moral legitimacy and public opinion can sway governments, deter alliances, and pressure adversaries into de-escalation. Unlike authoritarian rivals, where state media may be distrusted globally, American platforms often dominate both Western public opinion and global elite discourse. Historical war legacy and learning curve. The U.S. is not undefeatable due to perfection, but because of its ability to absorb failure, recalibrate, and return stronger. After Vietnam, the military underwent a full doctrinal reset. After Iraq, drone warfare and counterinsurgency operations became central. After September 11th, Homeland Security transformed. The ability to institutionalize lessons from defeat and turn them into long-term advantages is a form of strategic evolution few nations can replicate. Even military failures become sources of innovation, not collapse. Limits of modern warfare against a superpower. Contemporary military strategy recognizes that conventional warfare against nuclear-armed superpowers is obsolete. No rational actor would invade the U.S. for 3 reasons. Logistical impossibility. There is no force capable of transporting and sustaining a full-scale army across oceans and landing it on U.S. shores. Instant escalation risk. Any serious attack would likely trigger nuclear response or global retaliation from U.S. allies. Economic fallout. Because the U.S. is at the center of global trade, any disruption involving it would send shockwaves through financial systems worldwide, effectively harming the attacker's own economy. Modern state actors prefer economic, cyber, and proxy warfare. But in each of these domains, the U.S. still holds the initiative and defensive edge. Psychological and moral deterrence. There's a final, often unspoken reason why America is so hard to defeat. The fear of fighting it. The U.S. has used nuclear weapons in war. No other country has. It has shown a willingness to intervene unilaterally, projecting power without needing global consensus. The cultural image of American retribution, seen in military history, media portrayals, and drone strike records, creates an aura of psychological deterrence. Countries like Iran, North Korea, and even Russia often posture, but carefully avoid crossing certain lines. The fear is not just of military defeat, but of complete national destabilization if the U.S. fully commits to war. Energy superiority and resource control. Energy independence has long been a strategic weakness for other great powers. Germany in World War II, Japan pre-Pearl Harbor, or modern-day Europe's dependence on Russian gas. The United States, by contrast, has turned energy into a strategic asset. The U.S. is the world's leading producer of oil and natural gas, reducing dependence on foreign suppliers. American oil companies maintain influence in key global regions such as the Middle East, Latin America, and Africa. In wartime, energy dominance ensures uninterrupted military and industrial operations, while also giving the U.S. leverage over adversaries through economic sanctions and embargoes. Control over energy flow grants the U.S. a non-kinetic weapon that can cripple adversarial economies before a single bullet is fired. Dual theater war capability. No other nation on Earth maintains the capacity to fight and sustain 2 full-scale wars simultaneously in geographically distinct theaters. This is codified in U.S. defense doctrine. The U.S. Navy can project power in the Pacific against China, while simultaneously operating in the Middle East or Europe against Russia or Iran. This is made possible by a fleet of 11 aircraft carrier strike groups, unmatched global logistics, and forward-deployed forces. While other countries focus on regional dominance, America prepares for and tests itself against multi-front scenarios. That capability alone discourages coordinated aggression by multiple adversaries. Militarization of space. With the formation of the U.S. Space Force in 2019, America formalized its intent to dominate a new frontier of warfare. Space, once neutral, is now an active operational domain. The U.S. operates over 300 military satellites, critical for GPS, intelligence gathering, and missile defense. Programs like X-37B, an unmanned orbital vehicle, and anti-satellite missile, ASAT, testing show America's readiness to both defend and attack in orbit. This control of space infrastructure gives the U.S. a significant advantage in surveillance, navigation, and communication, elements vital for any 21st century battlefield. Command structure and strategic continuity. Even if a catastrophic attack decapitated major cities or command centers, America's continuity of government, COG, framework ensures strategic operations continue. Multiple layers of command, from the Pentagon to NORAD to regional commands, ensure redundancy. The nuclear football, always near the president or designated successor, allows retaliation even under worst-case scenarios. Doomsday aircraft like the E-4B Nightwatch serve as airborne command centers, capable of coordinating a nuclear response from the skies. This planning makes leadership decapitation or disruption of command virtually impossible. Another layer of deterrence against existential threats. Defense industrial base and private sector war readiness. No other country has the depth and diversity of private sector defense contractors as the U.S. Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, each with billions in contracts and global R&D capabilities. These firms can scale production rapidly and innovate in real time, as seen with the F-35 program, Patriot missile systems, and next-generation drones. Moreover, America's defense manufacturing is decentralized across multiple states, making sabotage or air strikes on production centers unlikely to fully cripple capability. Veteran force and national warrior culture. America has a population deeply embedded with military experience. Over 17 million veterans reside in the U.S., many of whom retain combat and tactical training. National Guard and Reserve units provide an additional 800,000 personnel ready for activation. Culturally, the U.S. maintains strong reverence for military service. Memorials, VA support, and elite military academies ensure a self-reinforcing warrior ethos that sustains enlistment and morale. This readiness at the societal level gives America a reservoir of disciplined manpower even in protracted conflicts. Resilience against economic sanctions and blockades. Many nations can be pressured or broken through financial warfare. Not the United States. The U.S. dollar is the global reserve currency, used in over 88% of all global foreign exchange transactions. The SWIFT banking system and World Bank institutions are heavily influenced by U.S. policy. Attempting to sanction or isolate the U.S. would backfire globally, causing massive blowback in energy, finance, tech, and consumer markets. This economic insulation acts as an invisible shield, one that no adversary has managed to breach effectively in a century. Homeland fortification and defense layering. While much of U.S. strategy focuses outward, its homeland is far from defenseless. Missile defense systems like NORAD, THAAD, and ground-based mid-course defense, GMD, protect against ICBM and rogue state threats. The U.S. has hardened NORAD command bunkers built under mountains, which are capable of surviving direct nuclear hits. The Department of Homeland Security coordinates threat monitoring across all 50 states with a network of federal, state, and local agencies. Any external actor seeking to strike the U.S. internally must confront layer after layer of airspace, cyber, maritime, and law enforcement resistance. The global cost of war against America. Perhaps the most important deterrent of all is this. Defeating the U.S. would mean destabilizing the entire planet. Global shipping, trade, banking, internet governance, medical research, and even space exploration are all intertwined with American leadership. An assault on the U.S. would trigger global economic collapse, refugee crises, and a breakdown of existing world order. Even America's rivals benefit from its stability. China depends on U.S. consumer markets. Russia uses U.S. currency for trade stabilization. Europe relies on NATO's U.S.-led structure for peacekeeping. No nation can afford the cost of destroying the U.S. without destroying itself and the system it operates within. Final reinforcement. America as a system, not just a country. To understand why America is virtually undefeatable in war, one must see it not merely as a nation-state, but as a self-sustaining system. Economic, cultural, technological, and military, all globally interwoven. It is a civilization-scale power. Defeating it isn't about beating a battlefield force. It's about collapsing a global ecosystem that it anchors. And in this era of interdependence, no adversary can do that without burning down the world it too depends on. If you enjoy the video, please like, subscribe, and share.